Let's get salty!
Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and it's time for our day one patch review, which has left me with a WTF. What exactly was that balance patch? And if you log into Hearthstone today, or since that patch went live, you will see that these cards have changed, including the Solitude. That red symbol there on the 3 wasn't really nerfed. We'll talk about that. But yes, these cards have all been buffed. Not necessarily any nerfs, just buffs. By the way, green Rafaam does not affect your deck like I thought. I need to learn to read. I just assumed, no, it's the battlefield, so a lot worse than I thought. Regardless, we're gonna be talking about, has any of this stuff made a difference so far? Early results say probably not, and that's kind of the expected kind of consequence or result of this patch, but we'll go into it. And of course, you enjoy the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below, give the video a like because it helps the channel out a ton. And normally on a patch review, I would say go into your collection, type in refund to get your stuff, but there's no nerfs this patch, and that was a lot of the talk of the town. Is we have absolutely no nerfs in that patch, and it's nice that we got these buffs, right? Like, it's nice, but these are all decks that have been struggling, have not been doing particularly well, and buffing them by a bit typically doesn't do a ton, considering the last balance patch that really landed well, right, was the last one where they nerfed like almost 20 cards, and that really freshened up the meta, because at the end of the day, the best buff to any card is a nerf to something better. It just always is. It allows other things to catch up, the meta to become more diverse, but that's kind of where we're at now, right? We've talked a lot about that, where there's a lot of playable stuff right now, and it's a lot of older stuff, but there's a lot out there. There's nothing too oppressive. We go into this patch where we get these changes, and not a ton, by the feels of it, has moved things. But before we get into that, I did want to go over just a fun topic that's going on, where Clark insists that Solitude was a nerf, going from 3 mana to discover 2 minions. If your deck has no minions, reduce the cost of it in your hand by 2. Jombre as well, saying there's a buff somewhere. I'm sure we have to look real hard, but the thing is, you do get double the amount of minions as before. You get more mana cheat. Overall, it costs 1 more mana. I think people are thinking of this card purely from a perspective of that like Brock Cigar combo, where yes, you could cycle through your deck and then play this and do silly things, whereas this is more in spirit with the no minion deck. I think they could have left it at 2, discover 2 minions. It's possible, but it is a spooky card. This is the type of thing that could cheat so much mana if it's not treated appropriately. So I felt like, yeah, they played it a bit safe on it, and we'll have to see how it plays out if it's above. But for me, when I played the patch day, I played a good amount of Toki. It's Toki time, I said, where I played some Toki Mage. I think I got to play her like 3 times throughout the whole process. I had her ratted, I had her milled, and then when I finally was able to play her, every spell I got was absolutely terrible. I did okay with Toki Mage, because you just play like the Protoss control shell, right? Just stall armor and annoy your opponent to death. But Toki herself, like, probably the worst part of the deck. It's still not particularly great. Would not recommend it early on, at least the early builds. And there was a lot of, talk in the patch notes thread of like buffing Rafaam before selling a signature. I like that. Nice. Rafaam will dominate the world for sure now. Yikes. And again, we saw the changes overall, but goddamn, is that Solitude buff a nerf in disguise. Could easily been a 1 mana instead. That I feel like would have been really scary to make it 1 mana. Believe me, that has probably been considered, but if you think about it, it would not be, I would be shocked if it was 1 mana it would see play in no mini DH, where it'd just be a pure cycle scam thing. Like we've got enough of that at Hearthstone now that we've already seen. I don't see these shaking up the meta much. A bunch of very bad decks are now slightly better, which I'm all for. Again, agreed, but the oppressive decks will remain oppressive. Cutting a whelp for an Aura Golem won't make Aura Paladin able to stand up to Hagatha or Hunter. And that's the deal, right? Like, we're not catching up to the good stuff, which just typically doesn't happen without significant nerfs. And at the end of the day, I understand where Blizzard's coming from. We have Worlds coming up. There's a holiday break. There's a relatively, like, we look at HS Replay. We've talked a lot about it. There's a lot of diversity. There's a lot of different stuff to play. Like at Legend, we have what? 6 decks, you know, in the tier A. We have a ton of decks in tier B, most classes represented. There is stuff to play. Nothing is completely out of line, even at top 1000 Legend, where it always gets more narrow. There's plenty of stuff. And for someone like myself, again, I am not struggling playing ladder. I've actually been playing ladder on my stream more this patch cycle since the latest nerf patch than any other point this year. And I mean, that's a personal thing. You can completely hate the meta, whatever. But for me, I kind of get it from their perspective that, yeah, if they decided to, okay, well, let's nerf, you know, mid-range shaman, let's nerf discover hunter, let's nerf those top decks right before Worlds, what boogeyman's going to take over? What's going to be the next best deck? Is it going to actually be oppressive? Is it going to be a worse play pattern? There's no way of knowing, plus the holiday break. So they played it safe. But at the end of the day, it makes the meta very samey, very boring. A lot of decks people are already bored of. And if you're wondering, well, maybe Zeddy, things have changed a bit early on. Again, this is less than 24 hours. We'll have deck recommendations tomorrow, updated decks, and maybe something new will pop up. But if you look on HS Guru, early stats, Toki Mage, still terrible. Rafaam Lock, still terrible. Hagatha Shaman, still really good. The top stuff, really good. And if we like make it minimum games 100, where the sample sizes will be super limited, you could see the bottom stuff very early on is stuff that's like relatively new, like Rafaam Warlock that got buffed, the Krona Druid that got buffed recently, right? I tried that on my stream for a little bit. I just don't see it. And Aura Paladin hovering around 50%, which it was already doing. I don't know if Cardboard Golem has made much of a difference, but if you look at the decks up here, it's all the same stuff. Nothing that got buffed, right? It's just going to be very similar to what we saw before. So this is a balance patch that really didn't accomplish much. Like, it didn't really give us much in regards to like new tools. It doesn't do anything to like mitigate people's complaints about stuff that, yeah, maybe they're sick of, the Protoss mages or the Hagatha shamans, the Discover honors. That stuff is just not going anywhere. And I guess I'll leave off with my early impressions that I tweeted. I'm going to use my source, use me myself to wrap up this video. What a narcissist, where I did say early patch impressions. Patch didn't do much. Most people will be back to the old decks in a couple of days. Hopefully some new stuff will be figured out, but we might be waiting until the mini set in January for a real change. And if it's anything like the last mini set, by the way, we might not get a real change, because the last mini set basically did nothing for the most part until we had that big mini set buff patch, which barely did anything other than give us egg decks. That was about it, right? We got egg decks, and it turned out the only way that we got a big meta shift other than, you know, the egg thing was to nerf a lot of cards. And that typically will work a lot, but rotation is like what? We're 2.5 months away from rotation. No matter what, things will be changing then. And I think this whole year has been building to that, and it's going to be quite the thing to see if this plan or whatever they've been doing of lower power level, getting ready for that rotation, will it excite people? Will it make the game more fun? Will people become more engaged? Or has this been all for nothing? Just a struggle to find any content in Hearthstone that's anything new, because believe me, as a content creator, it has been a struggle, and it's been hard to come up with a video every single day. And when you get a patch like this that does almost nothing, it doesn't make it much easier. But again, these patches aren't made for content creators or myself. It should be made for the player base to make the game more fun. And overall, I don't know if it really accomplished that, but it wasn't particularly, at least in my opinion, horrendous beforehand. So a weird one. It's been a really weird year balance-wise in Hearthstone. Let me know what you guys are thinking about all this. It's just, it's out there. It's hard to describe, But yes, nothing really changed so far, but maybe things will change. You never know. Anyways, tomorrow we'll have updated best decks, hopefully. I mean, there's like a location druid that's popped up. I'm seeing like a Stegodon DK pop up. We'll have some new stuff to recommend tomorrow, regardless of if these buffs work out. The meta has been evolving regardless. It's been pretty interesting, so stay tuned for that. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day and stay salty, my friends.